Werewolves Within is a social VR experience in the style of a tabletop game for 6 to 8 players. It is the game I have spent most time playing in VR so far, and in this video I will give some tips on how to play the various roles in Team Townsfolk and Team Werewolf. The basic rules are simple. If you're on Team Townsfolk, use reason and deduction to discover who is a wolf and have that player eliminated. If you're on Team Werewolf, lie and deceive the townsfolk into eliminating one of their own. However, if you're a deviant, act suspicious and convince everyone to eliminate you. You can discuss openly with everyone in the group, or you can have private conversations by whispering with players that are next to you. First, I will talk about the various roles and abilities of Team Townsfolk. The roles are Villager, Gossip, Tracker, Houndsman, Drifter, Watcher, Astrologer and Saint, and the role I will discuss first is the Villager. The Villager is the only role on Team Townsfolk that there can be more than one of, and because of this, it is a safe role for a werewolf to claim. It's often complained that the Villager is the most boring role, which is true. Aside from being able to appoint a ringleader, villagers have no abilities, but that doesn't mean you can't be a part of the game. Ask people questions, let everyone know who you trust and who you don't. If you sit quietly, some might accuse you of being a werewolf. Villagers can also elect a ringleader. This is done by opening your book, going to My Role and selecting appoint a ringleader. You can then select whoever you want to have their elimination vote count as 2, but choose wisely, as you could end up giving a werewolf an extra vote. Choose someone whose role isn't contested, or better yet, someone who has been confirmed by another player. If different villagers vote for different ringleaders, no one is elected. A popular play is to get certain villagers to use their ringleader votes to prove they are villagers. Whilst useful at times, I've seen this method get the Saint killed on several occasions, but I'll talk more about that later. The next role is the Astrologer. The Astrologer has the ability to discover one role that is definitely in play. To use this ability, there is no need to activate it, simply look up and you will see a small moon icon appear. Once the icon is full, your book will open and reveal to you one of the roles that is in play. This could be one of the Townsfolk roles, the Turncloak or the Deviant. It will never state Werewolf, as there is always at least one werewolf in a game. It's best not to reveal to the group what you've determined is in play until after everyone has declared their roles, in order to stop multiple players claiming the role you've said. If only one person claims the role you've determined, that person is most likely legit. The next role is the Gossip. The Gossip has the ability to learn 2 roles in play, one true, one possibly false. There is no need to activate it, as the clues will appear on their own during the game. The clues will appear as cards with question marks on above the head of a random player. The first clue will arrive within the first minute, the second clue will appear 3 or 4 minutes later. It's a good idea not to reveal what your clues are until after everyone has declared their roles, to avoid someone claiming a false role that was placed on them. Take note, one clue is possibly false, both could be true. If you're lucky, the first gossip won't match what the player has claimed, and your second clue will be true and will show if someone is or isn't a werewolf. If one of your clues marks a possible saint, do not reveal this to the group. Either say that you don't want to give this information away, or make up a role. Either is risky, but try and keep attention away from the saint. The next role is the Tracker. The Tracker has the ability to discover if one half of the group is hiding a werewolf or not. In groups of 6 or 7, you can track up to 3 people, in groups of 8, you can track up to 4. To use your ability, go to My Role, select Activate Ability and lean to whichever side you want to track, and a moon icon will appear. Once the icon is full, a set of werewolf cards will appear above the players you have tracked. If the cards have crosses on them, then there is no werewolf hiding on that side. However, if you hear a growling noise, a question mark will appear on the cards and there is a werewolf hiding among the players you have tracked. I find it more useful when the tracking comes up with no werewolves, especially in games of 6 or 8 players, as it narrows down the amount of potential suspects. Also, if there is a player I suspect, I like to track to the opposite side they are on in order to try and clear that side of werewolves. Take note, if a player is directly opposite you as a werewolf, then you will get potential werewolves whichever side you track. The next role is the Houndsman. The Houndsman has the ability to discover the roles of adjacent players by whispering with them for 5 seconds. The problem is that this is the same ability as the werewolves have, which leads me to my next statement, which is not a fact, but my opinion. No one trusts the Houndsman.
For me, I hate being the Houndsman because nobody believes you.
Yeah.
Because werewolves and houndsmen have the same abilities, townsfolk are slow to trust houndsmen unless someone else has confirmed their role and are not likely going to let them whisper with them. Also, if you have declared that you're a houndsman, a werewolf isn't going to let you whisper with them so that they don't get exposed. However, a werewolf will more than likely whisper with you if they don't know you are the houndsman. One of my favourite strategies is to claim villager or not to say my role, and if someone else claims houndsman who is sitting next to me, I ask them if they can confirm my role for the rest of the group, and then I can confirm if they are a werewolf, turncloak or a deviant. The trouble with this is, you then have to convince the rest of the townsfolk that you are the houndsman. And up next is the Drifter. The Drifter has the ability to eliminate 2 roles from the game. There is no need to activate this ability, as the roles that have been eliminated will be written on the right hand page of your role. Also, they will be crossed out on the roles in play page. The way I like to play the Drifter is to immediately claim the role, but hold off on what roles have been eliminated until after everyone has stated their role. If another person has claimed Drifter, I find it a good idea to let them state their drift first so they have less chance of countering your claim. And the next role is the Watcher. The Watcher has the ability to determine 2 possible roles of a single player, one of which is true, the other is false, and is one of the greatest weapons in the townsfolk arsenal. To use the ability, go to My Role, select Activate Ability, and then look at the player you suspect until the moon icon fills. After that, 2 cards will appear above the player's head with the true and false roles. It's best not to use this ability on a random player at the start of the game. You might get lucky and find a wolf, but it's best to use it when all the clues point to someone, or if you want to determine if someone is telling the truth of their role. If one of the possible roles is Saint, do not announce this. Claim it as one of the other roles in play and keep attention away from that player. And the last member of Team Townsfolk, one of the hardest roles to play in the game, the Saint. The Saint is a double-edged sword that can make or break the game, as they have the ability to determine one player who is a werewolf. However, if all the wolves vote for the Saint, then the wolves win, even if a wolf is eliminated, and it's because of this, Saints have to be incredibly subtle. The first rule of the Saint is, do not claim you are the Saint.
I'm the Saint.
I'm the werewolf and Roll just called himself the Saint.
In order to use their ability, the Saint has to bow their head for 7 seconds. When successful, a wolf card will appear above the head of a player. Keep in mind, there may be more wolves than just this one. In most games, the townsfolk will say, let's pray for the Saint, and will protect you by all lowering their heads. The wolves will join in on this as not to arouse suspicion. When you hear the growling noise, as tempting as it may be, don't lift your head until others has stopped praying, as this could draw the wolf's attention to you. If you wish, you could set a suspicion marker on the wolf's head, just do so when the wolf isn't looking at you. As for what role to claim when declaring what you are, a lot of people claim villager when playing the Saint. The problem with this is, if someone asks you to vote for a ringleader, you won't be able to, and is likely the townfolk will believe you're a werewolf. To counter this, you could claim a power role such as astrologer, drifter or gossip and hope no one else claims it. To be honest, any role you claim is a risk, so be subtle and good luck. Okay, that's all Team Townsfolk done. Now it's time to move on to the 2 members of Team Werewolf, the Werewolf and the Turncloak. And then of course, there's the pain in everyone's arse, the Deviant. So let's begin by discussing the Werewolf. There is a minimum of 1 werewolf in the game and a maximum of 3. There will be cards above the other werewolves' heads to show you who they are. At the start of the game, it's very tempting to look around and above the other players' heads in order to see who the other werewolves are. Try to resist doing this because members of Team Townsfolk could pick up on this. A safer way of finding out who the wolves are is to look on the right hand page of the My Role section of the book. Now when it comes to claiming a role, and this is very important, always read what roles could be in play before you lie.
Are you a werewolf?
No,
What are you then?
Sting, why are you standing
I'm a
up?
tracker.
Yeah, well,
Then
that's
track.
Sit down.
Too bad there is no track.
Sit your ass down,
There
man.
is
Claiming a role that is not in play will almost always get you caught out unless you can pass yourself off as a turncloak or deviant. Keep your lies consistent. If you claim astrologer, don't claim that there is a role not in play. Don't get gossip powers mixed with watcher's powers, and if you claim gossip, don't forget what your first gossip was. If there is a watcher in play, subtly try and get them to watch someone else, because if they watch you, it's more than likely game over. And of course, in games that possibly have one in, find the saint. Look for the first person to lift their head after the circle prayer. Failing that, look for someone marking you or one of your allies. Listen out for someone accusing a wolf with no evidence, and if you can, whisper with people to narrow down who is and who isn't the saint. And remember, sometimes all it takes is getting one townsfolk to believe you to be the difference in winning or losing a game, especially in a team of 3 werewolves. And now for one of my favourite roles, the Turncloak. The Turncloak counts as townsfolk for elimination purposes. This player has no powers other than being able to see who the werewolves are. Now the werewolves don't know who the Turncloak is, so if they aren't in whispering distance, they could believe you're a deviant. For me, there are 2 main ways to play the Turncloak. Keep attention away from the wolves, or get everyone to believe you are the werewolf. This is where the fun with the Turncloak comes in, because you don't have to be so consistent with your lies. You can even slip up on purpose in order to draw attention to yourself. Just don't make the lie too blatant, otherwise they will see through your ruse. And finally, there is the Deviant. The Deviant is a solo player whose goal is to be eliminated. I believe this is one of the hardest roles to play in the game, yet I've met quite a few players who really enjoy this role. Basically, lie, bluff, double bluff, use small lies, use blatant lies. I've seen players lie their way to a win. I've seen players claim villager, sit back and let everyone else do the work, and win. So go out there and have fun lying with this role. So, that's it for my beginner's guide to Werewolves Within. I hope it helped you in some small way, or even if it's helped you coming up with strategies of your own. Seeing your strategies come to fruition or even failing entirely can be immensely fun. So, thanks for watching, and hit that like button if you enjoyed it and leave a comment, or even leave your own tips for the new players in the comments if you like. Okay, one more game.